Welcome to quiz time. I'm your quiz master, Sean, and I've got 100 questions for ya. Because we want to see what we remember, stretch our brains a little bit, dig deep into the recesses of the attics of our brain to pull out what we know. Because it's fun, and it keeps us young. And we're talking about general nostalgic knowledge trivia. So, this will be fun. Let's see what we know, shall we? All right, enough of me yakking. Let's get to it. Which ancient civilization was the first to develop a standardized postal system with relay stations? The Persian Empire, the Roman Empire, or the Han Dynasty in China? And that would be the Persian Empire. What was the primary material used in the creation of Benin bronzes, famous artwork from West Africa? Was it bronze, brass, or copper? It was brass. Which American Civil War battle was fought without either side's commanding general being present initially? Was it Gettysburg, Antietam, or Shiloh? It was the Battle of Gettysburg. The ancient tradition of ostracism in Athens involved citizens voting to exile individuals by writing names on, was it clay tablets, potsherds, or papyrus scrolls? It was on potsherds. Which literary technique did T.S. Eliot pioneer in his work, The Wasteland? Was it magical realism, stream of consciousness, or fragmented collage of voices? He pioneered fragmented collage of voices. The ancient city of Caral, discovered in Peru, is significant because it contains the oldest urban complex in the Americas, was the first site with evidence of metallurgy, or had the first written language in South America. It contains the oldest urban complex in the Americas. What distinctive feature characterized the Spanish Civil War's international brigades? They were funded by the Soviet Union, they were composed of volunteers from many countries, or they fought exclusively in urban areas. They were composed of volunteers from many countries. Which art movement deliberately rejected established standards and encouraged experimentation with new materials and techniques? Was it neoclassicism? Was it avant-garde? Or pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood? It was avant-garde. The Liber Abaci, written by Leonardo Fibonacci in 1202, is most significant for introducing Arabic numerals to Europe, documenting astronomical observations, or establishing the principles of double-entry bookkeeping. It introduced Arabic numerals to Europe. Which ancient civilization invented seismoscopes to detect earthquakes? Was it the Greek, the Chinese, or the Mayans? That was technology invented by the Chinese. During which conflict was the tactic of scorched earth first systematically employed as a documented military strategy? Was the Peloponnesian War, the Scythians' resistance to Persian invasion, or the Punic Wars? It was Scythian resistance to Persian invasion. Say that 10 times fast. The literacy technique of defamiliarization was first theorized by, was it Roman Jakobson, Viktor Shklovsky, or Mikhail Bakhtin? It was Viktor Shklovsky. Which archaeological site features a sophisticated water management system including baths, drains, and wells from the 3rd millennium BCE? Mohenjo-Daro, Knossos, or Ur? It was Mohenjo-Daro. The needle lace technique that became prominent during the Renaissance originated in, was it Venice, Bruges, or Damascus? It originated in Venice. What was unique about the Chinese Civil War compared to most other civil wars? Was it fought in multiple stages across decades? Did it involve no foreign intervention, or did it result in a negotiated peace? It was fought in multiple stages across decades. The ancient Greek concept of ekphrasis referred to vivid verbal descriptions of visual artworks. Was it the geometric golden ratio in architecture, or the use of maths in theoretical performances? It was a vivid verbal description of visual artworks. The archaeological technique of dendrochronology primarily relies on, is it carbon isotope analysis, tree ring patterns, or pollen preservation? Dendrochronology. That would be tree ring patterns. Why not just say that? Dendrochronology. Which traditional craft experienced a revival through the arts and crafts movement of the late 19th century? Was it blown glass, porcelain painting, or hand book binding? It was hand book binding. The Day of the Barricades was a pivotal moment in which historical conflict? Was it the Paris Commune, the Russian Revolution, or the French Wars of Religion? It was the French Wars of Religion. What innovative literary form did Lady Murasaki Shikibu pioneer in the 11th century Japan? Psychological novel, the dramatic monologue, or the satirical essay? She pioneered the psychological novel. Which geographical feature was considered the southern boundary of ancient Egypt civilization? Was it the first cataract of the Nile, the Mediterranean Sea, or the Red Sea? It was the first cataract of the Nile. The traditional craft of blackwork, embroidery, is characterized by, is it kohl sketching on textile, silhouette cutouts on black backgrounds, or geometric patterns in black thread on white fabric? It is geometric patterns in black thread on white fabric. During which civil conflict did the term Roundheads originate? Was it the English Civil War, the American Civil War, or the Russian Civil War? It was the English Civil War. The ancient historical practice of damnatio memoriae involved, was it public execution of traitors, erasing someone from official records and monuments, or the ritual burial of cursed objects? Damnatio, erasing someone from official records and movements. Which literary movement was characterized by rejection of romanticism in favor of precise observation and documentation of contemporary life? Was it naturalism, symbolism, or transcendentalism? It was naturalism. The archaeological site of Göbekli Tepe is revolutionary because it provides evidence of early metalworking, contains the earliest known writing system, or shows complex religious structures predating agriculture. Shows complex religious structures predating agriculture. What distinctive geographical feature made Singapore strategically important throughout its history? Was it the mountain passes controlling trade routes, the extensive freshwater lakes, or the natural deep water harbor? It was the natural deep water harbor. The craft technique of sgraffito involves, Is it building up patterns with fine sand, creating raised designs with molten glass, or scratching through surface layers to reveal different colors underneath? It's scratching through surface layers to reveal different colors underneath. Which historical figure's Civil War campaign was documented in his work Commentari de Bello Civili? Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, or Charlemagne? It was Julius Caesar. The literary concept of heteroglossia, developed by Mikhail Bakhtin, refers to multiple language varieties within a single text, translation errors between ancient languages, or the use of made-up words in poetry. It refers to multiple language varieties within a single text. Heteroglossia. What unique archaeological approach did Sir Arthur Evans pioneer at Knossos? Was it underwater excavation, aerial photography mapping, or reconstruction of ruins? It is a reconstruction of ruins. The traditional Japanese craft of kintsugi is best described as: is it mending broken pottery with gold-infused lacquer? Is it woodblock printing using multiple colors, or paper folding art creating three-dimensional objects? It is mending broken pottery with gold-infused lacquer. During which civil conflict was the slogan, "Land and Liberty," most prominently used? Was it the Mexican Revolution, the Spanish Civil War, or the Russian Civil War? It was the Mexican Revolution. Which geographical theory, developed in the early 20th century, suggested that coastal civilization advantages led to global dominance? Environmental determinism, rimland theory, or cultural diffusionism? It is environmental determinism. What distinguishes the literary style known as magic realism? Is it the integration of magical elements in an otherwise realistic setting, the use of scientific principles in fantasy settings, or stories focusing primarily on wizards and supernatural beings? It's integration of magical elements in an otherwise realistic setting. The archaeological term post-hole most directly relates to communication systems between ancient settlements, burial markers in prehistoric cemeteries, or reconstructing ancient wooden structures. It is the reconstructing of ancient wooden structures. Which traditional craft technique involves using hot wax to resist dye penetration on fabric? Ikat, shibori, or batik? It is batik. During the Nigerian Civil War, which region attempted to secede as the Republic of Biafra? The Western region, the Northern region, or the Eastern region? It was the Eastern region. The literary device, pathetic fallacy, was first identified and named by, was it John Ruskin, William Wordsworth, or Samuel Taylor Coleridge? It was John Ruskin. Which archaeological method involves the controlled burning of organic material to reveal features? Geophysical survey, experimental archaeology, or LiDAR scanning? That would be experimental archaeology. The traditional European craft of pietra dura is most closely associated with inlaid stone mosaic work, carved wooden furniture, or metal filigree jewelry. That would be inlaid stone mosaic work. In which Civil War did the Flying Tigers volunteer fighter group participate? Was it the Spanish Civil War, the Chinese Civil War, or the Greek Civil War? It was the Chinese Civil War. The geographical exploration method known as dead reckoning primarily relies on: is it celestial navigation, magnetic compass alignment, or previous position, speed, and direction? Dead reckoning is previous position, speed, and direction. What distinguishes the literary form known as Roman à clef? It uses real people disguised as fictional characters. It employs an unreliable narrator throughout. It combines prose and poetry in alternating chapters. Roma à clef. It uses real people disguised as fictional characters. The archaeological term tell refers to a mound formed by successive settlements built on the same site, a stone alignment marking celestial events, or an underwater site preserved by sedimentation. It's a mound formed by successive settlements built on the same site. Which traditional craft technique involves twisted threads wrapped around a core material? Is it passementerie, marqueterie, or repousse? It is passementerie. During which civil conflict did the White Terror and Red Terror occur as opposing campaigns? Was it the Russian Civil War, the Spanish Civil War, or was it the Finnish Civil War? It was the Russian Civil War. What historical geographical feature was known as the Amber Road? Was it a trade route connecting the Baltic region to the Mediterranean? Was it a series of stepping stones across the Irish Sea, or a mountain pass through the Caucasus? It was the trade route connecting the Baltic region to the Mediterranean. Which literary movement emphasized elaborate metaphors comparing dissimilar things? Imagism, Dadaism, or metaphysical poetry? And that would be a characteristic of metaphysical poetry. The archaeological technique of taphonomy primarily studies: is it ancient writing systems, settlement patterns in river valleys, or processes affecting organisms after death? Taphonomy. Processes affecting organisms after death. The traditional craft of scrimshaw is most associated with: is it engraving on whalebone or ivory, carving patterns in tree bark, or weaving with horsehair? Scrimshaw. That is engraving on whalebone or ivory. Which factor distinguished the Lebanese Civil War from many other civil conflicts? The complete absence of religious dimensions, its remarkably short duration, or its complex web of shifting alliances? It was its complex web of shifting alliances. The historical geographical concept of Pax Mongolica refers to agricultural techniques developed on the steppes, defensive border walls of the Mongol Empire, or the stability across Eurasian trade routes under Mongol rule. It was the stability across Eurasian trade routes under Mongol rule. What literary term describes a brief reference to a person, place, event, or literary work that the author assumes the reader will recognize? Is it allegory, allusion, or anaphora? That is the definition of allusion, with an A. Which archaeological dating method relies on the known decay rate of potassium into argon? Thermoluminescence dating, optically stimulated luminescence, or potassium-argon dating? It's potassium-argon dating. The traditional Japanese craft of mokumegane involves multiple layers of metal fused and patterned, painted decorations on ceramic, or woven bamboo containers. It is multiple layers of metal fused and patterned. During the Rwandan Civil War, which radio station became notorious for broadcasting hate speech? Was it Radio Television Libre de Mille Collines, Voice of Rwanda, or Radio Kigali? It was Radio Television Libre des Mille Collines, I think. That's how you say it. The historical geographical phenomenon of columnar jointing is most famously observed at, is it the Giant's Causeway, the Grand Canyon, or the White Cliffs of Dover? Columnar jointing. That's Giant's Causeway. Which literary technique involves repeating a word or phrase at the beginning of successive clauses or sentences? Is it anaphora, epistrophe, or chiasmus? That would be anaphora. What archaeological term describes the outer defensive wall of an ancient Greek city? Is it a temenos, agora, or parabolos? And that would be a parabolos. The traditional craft of pargeting is associated with, is it carved wooden buttons for clothing, mosaic floors using river pebbles, or decorative plasterwork on buildings? Pargeting. That is decorative plasterwork on buildings. Which Civil War featured the Long March as a pivotal event? The Spanish Civil War, the Chinese Civil War, or the American Civil War? The Long March was a pivotal event in the Chinese Civil War. The historical geographical theory of continental drift was first comprehensively proposed by, was it Alfred Wegener, Charles Darwin, or was it James Hutton? And it was proposed by Alfred Wegener. The literary device in medias res refers to beginning a narrative in the middle of the action, using an unreliable middle-class narrator, or inserting the author's opinions within the text. In medias res, beginning a narrative in the middle of the action. What archaeological term describes the practice of burying goods with the dead? Is it votive offerings? Are they ritual caches? Or grave goods? And they are called grave goods. The traditional craft technique of millefiori is primarily associated with, is it embroidery, leatherworking, or is it glasswork? Millefiori. It is glasswork. In which civil war did the Cristero rebels fight against anti-religious policies? Was it the Spanish Civil War, the Mexican Cristero War, or the Colombian Civil War? It was the Mexican Cristero War. What historical geographical feature was known as the Silk Road? Was it a maritime route around the Cape of Good Hope? Was it a mountain passage through the Alps? Or was it a network of trade routes connecting East Asia to the Mediterranean? Network routes connecting East Asia and the Mediterranean. Which literary movement was characterized by the rejection of objective reality and rational thought? Was that realism, neoclassicism, or surrealism? Rejection of objective reality. Well, that would be surrealism. The archaeological term palimpsest refers to, is it a ceremonial vessel with multiple handles, a burial containing multiple individuals, or landscape containing features from multiple time periods? It is a landscape containing features from multiple time periods. Which traditional textile craft employs the use of heddles to control warp threads? Is it weaving, knitting, or felting? If it's got warp threads, It's weaving. During which civil conflict did the Battle of Cable Street occur? Was it the British civil disturbances of the 1930s? Was it the American Civil War? Or was it the Irish Civil War? It was the British civil disturbances of the 1930s. The historical geographical concept of terra nullius was used to justify. Was it colonial land claims, maritime exploration rights, or mountain peak naming rights? Terra nullius. That was colonial land claims. What literary term describes a narrative technique that focuses on a character's conscious experience? Is it free indirect discourse, objective correlative, or deus ex machina? It is free indirect discourse. Which archaeological technique involves studying the composition of artifacts to determine their source? Is it seriation, ground-penetrating radar, or provenance analysis? It is provenance analysis. The traditional Japanese craft of kumihimo involves, is it folding paper, lacquering wood, or braiding cords? Kumihimo. It is braiding cords. The Lincoln Brigade fought in which Civil War? The American Civil War, the Spanish Civil War, or the Russian Civil War? The Lincoln Brigade fought in the Spanish Civil War. The historical geographical term, Great Circle Route, refers to, is it the ancient stone circles used for astronomical observation, the trade routes circling major bodies of water, or the shortest path between 2 points on a sphere? The Great Circle Route refers to the shortest path between 2 points on a sphere. Which literary technique deliberately breaks chronological sequence to create special effects? Is it anachronism, nonlinear narrative, or stream of consciousness? And that would be nonlinear narrative. What archaeological method involves examining microscopic plant remains in ancient materials? Is it palynology, zooarchaeology, or ethnobotany? And that would be palynology. The traditional craft of marquetry primarily involves, is it inlaid wood veneer patterns, carved stone medallions, or hammered metal decoration? Marquetry. That would be inlaid wood veneer patterns. Which civil war was directly triggered by the assassination of a newly elected president? Was it the Nigerian Civil War, the Rwandan Civil War, or the Greek Civil War? It was the Rwandan Civil War. The historical geographical feature called a rain shadow is created by, is it volcanic eruptions affecting weather patterns, deforestation altering rainfall distribution, or mountains blocking moisture-laden air? It's mountains blocking moisture-laden air. The literary technique of dramatic irony occurs when a character's name reflects a personality, the ending contradicts the beginning, or readers know something characters don't. Dramatic irony. When readers know something that the characters don't. The archaeological term type site refers to, is it a location where human remains are typically found, a ceremonial complex with typical features, or a site defining a particular archaeological culture? It's a site defining a particular archaeological culture. Which traditional craft involves using a hot iron to apply colored wax to fabric? Batik, encaustic, or block printing? And that would describe encaustic. During which civil conflict did the Easter Rising occur? Was it the Finnish Civil War, the Irish War of Independence, or the Russian Civil War? It was the Irish War of Independence. The historical geographical term isthmus refers to: is it a narrow land bridge connecting two larger land masses, a port city at a river delta, or a circular island in a freshwater lake? An isthmus. It's a narrow land bridge connecting two larger land masses. Which literary device involves a seeming contradiction that reveals a deeper truth? Is it a euphemism, a paradox, or a hyperbole? And that device would be a paradox. What archaeological method reveals subsurface features without excavation? Geophysical survey, typological analysis, or experimental archaeology? And that would be geophysical survey. The traditional Nordic craft of coal rosing involves fine line incising filled with pigment, carved wooden horses painted red, or woven wall hangings depicting myths. Fine line incising filled with pigment. In which civil war did the Committee of Public Safety conduct the Reign of Terror? The Russian Civil War, the English Civil War, or the French Revolution? It was the French Revolution. The historical geographical concept of the three-field system revolutionized: was it medieval European agriculture, Inca terraced farming, or ancient Egyptian irrigation? It revolutionized medieval European agriculture. What literary term describes a speech or written work forcefully denouncing someone or something? Is it a soliloquy, a philippic, or a eulogy? Denouncing someone or something. That would be a philippic. The archaeological technique of flotation is primarily used to recover: is it small plant remains and seeds, waterlogged wooden artifacts, or microscopic insect remains? Flotation. That's the technique of raising small plant remains and seeds, recovering those. Which traditional craft technique involves hammering metal from the reverse side to create raised designs? Is it niello, repousse, or filigree? And that would describe repousse, or repousse. The fifth column term originated during which civil war? The Spanish Civil War, the American Civil War, or the Greek Civil War? The fifth column term originated in the Spanish Civil War. The historical geographical feature called karst topography is characterized by: is it parallel ridges and valleys and folded mountains, stepped plateaus and desert regions, or underground drainage systems and caves in limestone? It's underground drainage systems and caves in limestone. Which literary narrative perspective reports only external behaviors without access to characters' thoughts? Is it stream of consciousness, omniscient narration, or objective point of view? It is objective point of view. The archaeological term cache most commonly refers to: is it a boundary marker between territories, a primitive defensive wall structure, or a deliberate deposit of objects intended for later retrieval? A cache refers to a deliberate deposit of objects intended for later retrieval. And that's 100 questions, and you did an amazing job on a very hard quiz. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and share your score in the comments below. And check out these videos. They're a lot of fun too. They're fun. They keep us young, right? I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.